At this point, Marvel just needs to let Ryan Coogler either direct or craft and produce and shape the Blade movie. Because he's already proven that he could do a vampire movie at this point before them. Welcome to my Safe Gayven, everybody. Thank you guys so much for clicking on another video and joining me here on the Black Gay Comic Geek channel. If this is your first time checking out one of my videos and checking out my channel, let me introduce myself. My name is Michael. I call myself the Black Gay Comic Geek. And I always say the things that I love to talk about here on the channel has blood, sex, gore, and magic, or any variation of the four. So I mostly like to talk fantasy, sci-fi, horror, action, suspense, thriller. I like to talk about black representation and queer representation. So if that's something that you're interested in, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Allow me to continue to grow the channel. I just passed a little over 10,100 subscribers. I want to keep growing the channel. So help me grow by hitting that subscribe button. But you can also help me grow if you're subscribed or you're not by hitting that like button. It tells the YouTube algorithm that this video is worth getting out there, this channel is worth getting out there, so more eyes can get on the channel. Guys, I just recently, even just yesterday, Thursday, October 3rd, depending on when you saw this video or seeing this video, went to the red carpet world premiere of Ryan Coogler's movie, Sinners. Check out the outfit, check out the fit. Here's the photo proof for evidence. I got to see and take a picture with a good portion of the cast. I saw Haley Steinfeld, but I didn't get to take a picture with her. And same with Michael B. Jordan. Saw him, he was like literally like this close to me, but his security was like surrounding him. So I was like, I'm not even gonna try to get a picture. But you can see most of the photos on my Instagram. If you're not following me on Instagram, follow me on my other social media accounts, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Threads, all of that stuff. But anyway, with that said, this is going to be a non-spoiler review because the movie does not come out until April 18th. So again, no spoilers in this video, but this is just my non-spoiler thoughts regarding the movie Sinners, and is it worth going to see in the theater? So let's talk about it. So let's get into the synopsis of Sinners before I give my thoughts. So the synopsis of Sinners is: trying to leave their troubled lives behind, twin brothers return to their hometown of Mississippi to start again, only to discover that an even greater threat is waiting to welcome them back. And outside of Black Panther, this is Ryan Coogler's first dip into the supernatural genre, and I'm pretty sure doing Black Panther maybe inspired him to do this, because technically Black Panther, not even technically, Black Panther isn't his, it belongs to Marvel, but this movie is his. He was one of the writers, director, and producer, so he had basically full creative control over this movie. And so with that, this movie was great. This movie was incredible. I had a lot of fun watching this movie. I had a lot of love watching this movie. And like, I would totally watch this movie again in theaters. And the thing about this movie that I love, it's just like how black it was. Not even just in the subject matter, but even in the fact that there were so many dark-skinned black actors in this movie. And it was just a love letter to black culture in general. And I will say, because I saw some people going back and forth, like some people are saying this movie is a musical, some people are saying it's not a musical. I would say that this movie is a callback to the 1980s movies of like Beach Street, Purple Rain, The Last Dragon, etc., wherein this music plays a very heavy role in this movie. I would say it's maybe another character, but it's also not a musical. There's a lot of music in this movie, but it's not a musical. And the reason and the way I differentiate it is because with a musical, the characters are using music to give their thoughts, to basically give their internal monologue, and to also kind of push the plot forward by telling their thoughts and how they feel and things like that. Where in this movie, there's just a lot of music in the soundtrack, but it's not like pushing the plot forward in that sense. Like I said, The Last Dragon, there's a lot of music in The Last Dragon, but the music isn't the plot. It's just the music is what's used to enhance the movie. And this movie is really just a love letter to black music in general, from blues, gospel, jazz, hip hop, R&B, rock, etc. Like, cause like when you think about American genre of music, black people have had their hands and have created virtually all forms of American music and pop culture. Like I said, jazz, country, rock, pop, hip hop, like all of it can trace back to us, slavery, African ancestry, roots, Jim Crow, etc. And this movie showcases that. So the soundtrack for this movie was incredible. Like, I would just get the soundtrack alone because the music, like, and I actually met Ludwig von Gorsen, who was the composer and musical director for this movie. He also did all the music for Black Panther. He did the music for Oppenheimer. And I said, anytime I see your name on a movie, I'm like, I know the music is going to be incredible because he's proven time and time again, like even with like Black Panther and things like that, like he is great when it comes to music. And this movie is no different. And you could tell that even though he himself is not Black, he is a student of Black music. And you also learned a little bit more about that. There's a documentary about him that's on Disney Plus about how he came up with and crafted the music of the Black Panther movie. And it was an interesting documentary. You could tell he like really studies and reveres Black artists. And also appreciate him and Ryan's relationship. Like, Ryan made a speech before the premiere, basically was saying that these two went to school together. They knew each other. They were both broke, coming up. And now Ryan Coogler is putting his friend on. And I can appreciate that. And it's also not just putting his friend on for the sake of putting his friend on, but his friend also happens to be wildly talented. Now, with that said, speaking of wildly talented, I gotta say, I feel like this is probably Michael B. Jordan's best role. He plays twin brothers Smoke and Stack. And I'm not saying he deserves an Oscar or an Oscar nomination or anything like that, but I think he did really good in these two roles, especially because I don't have any confirmation for this, but part of me has a sneaking suspicion that one of the roles of the twins would have gone to Jonathan Majors had he not got into any trouble. And then it ended up just going to both Michael B. Jordan and him playing those two roles because of that. But I feel like one of those roles, I think the one in the red hat, was supposed to have gone to Jonathan Majors. Again, I have no confirmation or anything like that. It's just a suspicion. I could be completely wrong with that, but that's what I think. And it was this movie that taught me that Haley Steinfeld has some African-American ancestry. Her grandmother is half Black. So I was like, oh, wait a minute. She is? To a degree, but I was like, oh, didn't know that. But like, everybody was good in this movie. Now, the thing about this movie, like, it almost felt like two separate movies, in the sense of like the first half of the movie, it was telling about this world, this family, these two twins, their connection to this city. I can't remember what city in Mississippi. Part of me want to say Clarksdale, but I don't even know if that's right. But all I know is it's Mississippi. And I don't even know if there is a Clarksdale, Mississippi, but that's what's in my head. But like, I just looked it up. There is a Clarksdale, Mississippi. So maybe that is right, because there's got to be a reason it's in my head. But anyway, like the first half of the movie is like telling the story of these twins. They're coming back after 7 years to their hometown and their interaction, basically wanting to move back from Chicago to their hometown. So that's the first half of the movie. But then the second half, it becomes the full-on vampire thriller. And I will say one of my big criticisms with the movie is I almost kind of feel like those two halves were a little disjointed. Those two halves almost kind of feel like two separate movies, and there was no real connection. Like once you're watching the first half of the movie, it's almost like there's no inkling that this is a supernatural world, that there are vampires in this world. It's almost just like it's a regular real life movie, and then all of a sudden vampires show up. And I wish they explained a little bit more of like the vampires, or there was like a little bit more hints of the supernatural dispersed throughout this movie in the first half. Because it's almost just like, as I was watching the movie, like the first half, I was just like, I know this is a vampire movie, but like, where are the like, it just seems like a regular movie that takes place in Jim Crow South. But with that said, both halves were incredibly strong. I just wish there was just more through line of the supernatural between both halves. But like, I love both halves equally, and they were equally just as interesting. Now, with that said, not even just in the fact that this movie was a love letter and a message talking about, Black music and things like that, but it's also about the importance of community. And I also found it very interesting that the three races, the main races that they had in this movie, which was important, I would think, is obviously mostly Black people, but then you also had Irish characters, and you also had Chinese actors and characters. And the reason I think that's important is because when you think about the people, and also Native American people as well, when you think about the people that were most affected by like American colonialism and racism and Jim Crow and things like that, it was Native Americans, Black people, Chinese people, and Irish people. And obviously some of that, once the Irish became white and then they created the whole minority myth with Asian people, they started to distance themselves a little bit from Black people, but there was a lot of community, and social building and things like that from Black people, Irish people, Asian people, Chinese people specifically, and Native people. So I was like, it's very interesting that those are the three main races that you had in this movie. I do wish we got to see a little bit more callbacks to the Native American people that showed up in this movie, because it's almost like they came and went. And that's kind of how I feel like with a lot of the supernatural in this movie. Like a lot of the references like came and went, but they didn't really fully explain it. But with that said, I still really enjoyed the hell out of this movie. Like there's a scene that takes place in the juke joint and they're like dancing and playing music and things like that. It's my favorite scene in the entire movie. Like, I'm gonna do a spoiler review for this movie, but like that scene was just like incredible. That scene alone needs to get, I don't know if they don't give Oscars for scenes, but I'm like, that scene alone should get this movie an Oscar nomination, even for just like best score and soundtrack. But yeah, I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. When it comes out in theaters, I'm gonna go see it again. I'm gonna buy it on Blu-ray. I'm gonna constantly talk about it. So far, it's one of my favorite movies that I've seen this year. Grant, I'm not saying I've seen every single movie that is released this year, but out of the movies that I have seen, it's one of my favorites. So with that said, once Sinners come out, once you go see Sinners, come back to this video. Let me know your thoughts. Like, share, comment, interact for the all gay rhythm. Again, this is one of your first time checking out one of my videos. Hopefully check out the other videos on my channel. If you like what you see, hit that follow button. Tell your friends, families, and neighbors about my channel to help me continue to grow. Hit that bell notification button so you're alerted every single time I post a new video. And as always, I will catch you guys next time.